Yeah, yeah, people horrible at that. I guess the second part of it is what really kills me is that you don't even care. You didn't even intend to do this well. Like you when you started.
That's so true. It was never even on the list of something you were going to get right. You're like, maybe not work. Who knows?
Not at all. That is one of the things that irks me the most. Just and like I don't like to be subjected to people like that, and so that's probably why I have somewhat of a what would people call that, a problem with authority or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not really bothered by that. It's just that I don't know. People don't understand the kind of. It's not even that they don't understand the kind of bonds that they put you in. They just, for me, because I always think about that. I always try to think about what I'm doing, and try to figure out how it works with what another person is doing.
Right.
And
How does this work in context of everybody we're doing and the goals we're trying to achieve? We're on the same team. How does this make this actually work?
right,
So
right. And so it's frustrating for people who just these ideas never occur to them ever. Ever. So I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I just try my best not to have to be subjected to their decision making and stuff like that.
yep,
Cause
recognize the pattern and like, all right, not doing this again. All right, switch.
yeah. Cause people it's a whole lot of projecting that goes on, and people just automatically think that you would do what they would do in that situation. And when I evaluate, I guess I would look at it from kind of like what I do in work. So some of it would be more like it's like coding. And I remember, well, I work in finance, but I do a lot of. I don't think you could really call it coding. Coding is like hybrid. It's almost like Spanglish in a sense. Yeah, it's mixed in. But what I come to learn a while back is that if you were to observe somebody coding, old colleague of mine taught me this. Like when you watch somebody code, you see how they think. It tells you about their mind. So some people will code and take, let's say you got to do a process and it's a repetitive process, and they'll code and maybe take, I don't know, 200 lines to do this process, like copy pasting or whatever. And the same person or another person might do the same processes, but just take like 10 to 20. But just because they thought about how these commands interact with each other and how they would have to repeat and how you would have to formulate it, it shows you that, oh, this person is thinking beyond right now. Whereas though the other person just like, oh, okay, I need this now. I'll copy that and paste it down. Oh, I need it again. Let me copy that and paste it down. And then it's destructible a lot of times because the problem becomes is that if you have the same process repeated multiple times, if you were to ever have a change, you've got to change each one of those instances for the process to work. Whereas though if you were to put a command that's repetitive, like one line that references everything you need to reference, you only got to change it in that one spot. And so it'll fix itself. So
You have to plan ahead for that. That's not going to happen by accident.
yeah, it's frustrating because people project their thinking style onto others when many times their thinking style is trash. So
They don't even bother to find out. Could this be improved? Should this be improved? Has anyone else ever done it differently?
they don't have any clue, man. It's none at all. Hold on, I'm gonna get this water. All right, yeah. But like I said many times before, people, the fix for their bad thinking processes is always you. Just use you. You'll fix it.
It's the idea of second-handedness. They're just going to let somebody else take responsibility. They'll fix it.
Right. And then they'll ask you something ridiculous. Like, is it possible for you to walk to LA and back today? Can you get there? Could you get that done? Like they have no clue. Like that doesn't sound ridiculous to you? I don't know.
First, you let me know how it goes. And what the hell it is. I'll be next.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I just operate on a protect myself basis. It's,
Smart. Gotta make things focus. Some people have refused to think.
it's terrible. I mean,
It's there. Since this cut.
I guess for me, one of my missions, especially even with writing the book, that's why I felt so much passion about finishing the book, because I thought I was speaking to a problem that, for one, it's a long-term issue, and I felt like it was manifesting or increasing. Like, you really can't tell. Let me try to explain the problem from the base. I'm thinking that the way that we're educating kids is resulting in people who increasingly can't think long-term or, beyond the task or process of right now. Right. And I guess it's a hypothesis. And I guess I think it just got reverberating effects, because everybody just is so hyper concerned on today or this week or this month or this quarter. And life exists beyond this period, but for them, it's context dropping. It's extreme context dropping. And it's almost as, when I see people, it's almost a deer in the headlights look, because it's almost like they can't fathom there ever being a situation beyond today. It's like we might have, and once again, is directly related to this, because just to give you a little background, like in finance, you really are doing the same thing literally over and over and over and over and over again. Right?
Pretty repetitive. All that.
And
Yeah.
it's not that much different. It's my earphones went okay. It's not that much different. You're doing the same process over and over and over again. But some people, instead of creating like a tool or something that'll work, they just do the same process every week over and over and over again. Build it,
Equal
break
hard,
it, build.
same problem, same time.
Crazy. It's nuts. But that's just the way that's the way that some people's minds work. And so my goal was kind of like just to attack that, because I think it's part of the education. I think, like, you can do the job. Okay, you can do the job today. I get it. And I think we're educating people in a way where they can do the job today, but they're not integrating anything else into their understanding of anything. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the job we're asking people to do is very task oriented, trying to get as many rule followers as we can. But we also want the people who are problem solvers to stay really focused on the narrowest vision of the problem as possible and never leave. Like, I'm going to toss some terrible things your way, and you're just going to fix it. And you're never going to ask for a raise, never going to ask for a promotion. You're just going to fix it. Thank you. And if you have any questions, you're fired. I mean, you're going to need to click out somewhere else. Anyway, I do not see a cohesive system to effectively orient, train, and reward the quote-unquote behavior they say they want. I'm like, we're saying a lot of things about really complex behavior that we pretend that we want to see more of, but the people who are doing it aren't really being rewarded at all. Some of them are punished. All of them, actually, don't seem very happy. Why would that be the case? Why wouldn't the managers like the people who happen to be the most competent? Is this something the managers are feeling? Are they having a different response?
I don't know. I don't know if I can speak really well to that. I don't disagree with the sentiment. It's just that I don't know if that's an overwhelming majority of the experiences. I don't know.
And say, I don't know. All I can say for my experience and what I'm in, the people I'm around don't have a very clear feedback mechanism for the people on the ground, and they don't care. They don't care to improve it. It's not, efficiency is not the goal. Efficacy is not the goal. And if that's not the goal, then I have a different goal. And it's just like, okay, management and I are at odds. I don't hate you. I just don't fully understand what you're trying to achieve. You now have a new project that you want us all to jump through the hoops to do. And we may do it, we may not, but like that that is not our quote unquote expressed goal. That's not what the company says the mission is. That's not what we'll quote unquote slated on doing. That's not technically what I get paid to do. So it's actually not my job. Now I could do it. I'm physically capable of doing it. So
Right.
no money comes into my pocket by doing it. So I don't have any motivation to do it besides just to make you happy, which is fine. I mean, it's good that people want to be happy, but like I can't eat your happiness. So I really need something to be done. There should be some quid pro quo. Some sort of exchange should happen, right? That's what we're doing. That's what we said we were doing. Did we forget? It seems like we forgot.
Yeah, but that's all. That could actually be a play for a coup. For I guess I don't know, because at the end of the day, look, I think shareholders want more money. They want more value for their shares, right? But a lot of times they're so far removed from what's happening on the ground is they don't really understand what's happening within middle management and frontline and all of those different types of those people. And a lot of times, to kind of like to your point, I don't understand always the criteria that management is chosen with, but I'm assuming that they executed some understanding of how to increase shareholder value somehow. Right. Maybe they made it up. Maybe they just made up a piece of paper and say, hey, look, I know how to do this. I don't know. But if a manager if that's not their goal to increase, or if they're not efficient in or effective in doing that, then there's a play to be made to go over their heads.
Right. I always find it challenging to balance operations with like strategic leadership. Like I understand that we have to at least be going in the right direction to be making money as a company. And when there's a change in the market, the company has to pivot. And during that time, operations may get, put on the back burner. And it's like, hey, you need to function at a minimal threshold. I don't care how well you're doing. We need to make sure we're going in the right direction first. Like, all right, there's going to be some variation, some slop in this changeover before we're getting here. And then once we go in the right direction, then we can start focusing on operations again. And I'm like, okay, there is something to be said for that. And I would appreciate that kind of clarity, that context, that communication from leadership to say, hey, we tried this old way's not making enough money. We're going to try a new way to make more money. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I will stop worrying about the fact that we're doing a bad job every day. I'll just, we're going to have a little less than perfect way while we're making these changes. But that's usually not what I get. It's usually just like, hey, this is the old way. And the old way is making money and there's nothing coming. We want you to add new things to the old way. I'm like, oh, we're going to get new resources to do the new jobs? Like, no. You're going to do the old job and you're going to do the new job because I just came up with it. And if you do this new job really well, I'm going to get a promotion. I'm like, is the company changing? Are we doing new things later? No, we're just doing this thing. We're doing a new job, like an added job to continue doing the old job. I'm like, so we're only doing this to make the old job a little better? Yeah, like, but does it make the old job better? Did anyone ask if this actually was effective? I was like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy to me because this was a fixable issue because we had answers to this question before we started this experiment. I'm like, we don't need to run this experiment. We've done this. We know this doesn't work. That was not necessary to go get new data. We have the data. I was very like, in my job specifically, I have to actually, do medicine at some point in time. But they have lost their minds and apparently lost some other positions. And now a lot of the admin jobs just aren't getting done. And so now they're like, hey, you can go do this. I'm like, oh, I'm physically capable of doing a lot of things, but I would have to stop doing my job to pick up this other job. Well, this other job has to get done. I'm like, yeah, that's what the business is for, right? We hired admin to do the admin things. Like, well, it never got done. I'm like, so you're going to yell at admin to get the act together? no, you're going to pick it up. You're going to do this. I'm like, I don't think I will. No, you have to do it. You can't get paid. No, see, what you said was that you're not paying me. And so that you're not going to, so that if I do, it won't work. You won't pay me. You see how that's not an incentive. I'm not going to. Anyway, it's crazy in my mind when people say this out loud. I'm like, you just told me that if I work harder, you won't pay me. You just said it on purpose. If I don't do the new work, you won't even pay me the old price. Like, I don't like what I'm getting now, and you want me to take on more things with no promise of getting any more reward. This is a bad negotiation. It's a bad negotiation tactic. I don't know what you think happens, but this is the fastest way to get everyone everyone on the ground at least quit. I get it that management will be happy, but since no one else will be happy, you will have to replace the rest of the company. Which is a bad long-term plan. But I guess you're not thinking long-term. I guess it doesn't bother you.
I mean, that's to my point.
Yeah,
man, it's disappointing to me that that's the case, because you technically can't do a good job or you always going to be upsetting somebody. And I'm not talking about necessarily, maybe upsetting is the wrong word. I don't mean it from an emotional standpoint. Well, it is going to have an emotional result.
conflict. There's a conflict of value.
Yeah. So it's just, once again, I know I'm projecting, and I'm really saying, like, yeah, you all should be thinking about these things when you're making decisions. That's what I'm saying. And somebody might say, oh, you're project. Yeah, you're damn right I am. Because I'm thinking about what I'm saying to you. I'm thinking about its effect on you. I'm having a fully integrated understanding. And it doesn't mean that I know from the beginning. It means that when I identify what's happening, I'll take that into consideration when I'm coming up with my solution for a situation. I might say, oh, well, you should do this. And the other person might say, well, I don't really think that that's a good idea because I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And that would cause me to do X, Y, and Z. And then then I can observe that or understand it and say, oh, okay, I didn't really have that understanding before. So let's do it this way. But the other part for me is a real struggle, because I don't know. I think that I like a full capitalist system where people can own their own future, and I don't think that it's not just that, excuse me, it's not just that I think it will work I don't think that it works just, I guess it's led by principle, but I think that when you actually have to do these things, you learn the right lesson that helps you make better decisions. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And to me, it's just like, it's similar to when politicians try to have ideas about economics that have nothing to do with how real business owners have to operate their business. They have a lot of theories and a lot of ideas, but it's like, you don't really do it, and you don't really understand what happens when you actually have to do it. You only really know what it means in theory. And I think theory is good, but applying theory is better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All ideas, well, the majority of ideas should be taken and applied and should lead to action. Otherwise, that there is a lack of integrity. And I think there's a time and place for things. We don't have to act on every single idea that pops into our head, but informed action is the best action. It's the most human action we can take. And I love to see that done consistently. It always concerns me when we have ill-informed or no-informed action, and then we see the mistake and say, what we should do is double down, fail fast. I'm like, no, we have failed. It's time to reflect, find the answer, isolate the issue, solve the issue, calibrate, plan, prepare, and then act again. And then if we fail a second time, reflect and calibrate. Please don't skip calibration. Please don't make me repeat the same mistake. That's insane. That's literally the definition of insanity. Don't make me do that. What are we talking about?
Yeah. But to me, once again, it's complex to talk about this, in my opinion, because it's just, once again, you are the fix for their bad ideas. And as long as you do the thing, they think that the problem went away, the problem was solved. You
Like,
know?
there's no problem. There was never a problem. I don't even know why you keep bringing it up. Every time I looked for the problem, it was gone. So clearly, you are worrying about nothing. Like,
Yeah. But they just I'm gonna kind of shift gears a little bit because yes, I agree there. But so there are certain things that companies do that I know of that if you were to go and read up on experts talk about these things, it would be objectively bad. You're doing objectively bad. Like if you were to go to the experts and ask them how to do this, they would say, not that way. And there are people who are proud they think that they're effective and they do this at work and they don't understand. This is an objectively bad approach, from an expert standpoint. Now we can have the argument about experts, practicality and expertise. I'm not buying that. Because one of the things that irritates me is that you have a lot of people who try to portray like, oh, I've been to school and I have this many degrees. Okay, you've learned the stuff. We know the stuff to be bad, and you keep doing it. So what is the point of all of these degrees?
like I can't trust you now because you have not demonstrated competence. Like I get it. You got this level of expertise, you got this level of knowledge, but you have never applied it in a way that is helpful. And I cannot give you like well, you never know. You actually do know. You were in class for this.
Right.
So you can't say that no one knows. Could say that you don't know. You seem like you have not applied this knowledge in a way that is successful, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting the knowledge. We hired you because we had the knowledge. If you aren't going to use the knowledge to help us, then you're not helping. Like you're not fulfilling your part of the bargain.
Yes, that part. And as an additional piece to that, and I think coming off the heels of politics, I didn't necessarily want to talk a lot about politics, but you have groups of people who tout and promote their education status, that they try to, it's not promote, it's not the word. They're just highlighting how educated they are. And they don't actually do the things that educated people have found to be good. And so I'm just thinking like, what's the point in being educated? You're dumb from the beginning. And I'm just talking from like, it's kind of tongue in cheek. You're dumb from the beginning and you don't even pay attention to the stuff that educated people to. What's the point in not doing the stuff? I mean, a lot of people, I'll just take an example. Like people think that they understand statistics very much. Like they love to run through numbers. And what they try to do is attach meaning to numbers. And they don't understand that the facts don't necessarily they don't have interpretations. The fact is just the fact. As an example, for whatever reason, I watched a clip, I think it was like Sunny Holston on The View. And she was just talking about how, like, if we look at the facts, there's some misogyny and racism in the voting results, because you can see that, overwhelmingly white people voted for Trump and overwhelmingly men voted for Trump. So those are the facts. There's misogyny and there's racism. How can you debate this? These are facts. No, they are interpretations of facts.
Right? Those are different things. Facts are data. Data shows that these many people did this. Those are numbers. Okay. Yeah. Those are facts.
Right. And I think that the woman next to her argued with her about, and she said, like, you're attaching meaning to the data results. Your meaning is not necessarily facts. It's just your interpretation. So
yes, you feel strongly about it, and that's true, but that's not the same. Like, it is a fact that you have feelings, but your feelings themselves are not themselves the data that we're looking for.
We don't even know how would you even quantify? You can't necessarily even quantify it, really.
Not relevant to the discussion. We're not discussing how well you thought the election went. We're just saying these many people voted this way. At that point in time, the facts were over. There were no more facts to be had. Now we're talking about something else afterwards. You're like, well, I didn't like that, so they must be bad people. Like, I mean, I hear you. You think people who do that are bad, but that's not our discussion.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can insert your opinion. I think that would have been perfectly fine. This is your interpretation of the data. It's not a fact, though. So I just brought up that example just to try to bring clarity to how people try to use these techniques, which they think makes them, I don't know, intelligent or makes them think intelligently. I guess at some level they do. It's good to look at statistics and facts. I like that. But I don't know. It's not, I don't know how well it's working out. I'll just end it with that.
Right? It's working out ridiculously. It is ridiculous because it's super important for people to be able to separate their interpretation from their perception. And I think that is I don't even want to call it art. I'll call it a skill. It's a skill that seems to have been left far behind. And we aren't checking people when they show that they don't have the skill. And I think it is pervaded. It's so pervasive now that it's in academia. It's in a lot of science. It's in a lot of the papers that come out. Like, how did nobody in all of the journals, I checked this, we're supposed to be peer reviewed. Did every single peer just forget about how this works? Did they just not read? They didn't read. Okay, that's what's going on. Because otherwise they would have been like, this person randomly inserted their opinion in the middle of this for like no reason. It didn't make any sense. They had an idea they wanted to test. They had an intro that just talked about the history. They made a bunch of stuff up in their method session for no reason. Their results were mildly consistent with their methods, at least. So like we know there was some data here, but the conclusions don't have anything to do with any of the stuff in the paper. Does that bother anyone? It seems like we should talk to them about that. And that's not what this data says at all. It could say it, maybe, if we had other data. I don't know where they're getting that other data from.
Right.
Not a
I mean, that's the thing. You're right. I think a lot of people just don't read. It's in many ways it's a house of cards because people identify that, oh, nobody's really paying attention. All we have to do is pretend like we belong, and then we'll be okay. And so
I'm gonna say something, and then they'll have to say something, and nobody wants to look dumb.
that part exactly. And so this reminds me that I don't know if you remember. This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Peter Boghossian and another guy. This is Peter Boghossian. I think his name is Peter Boghossian, whatever. He was a professor at Oregon State University, and he wrote this book called it's not How to Talk to Strangers. I forgot what it's called. How to Have an Imperfect Conversation, something like that. But basically, they did this experiment where they were writing these fake papers, and because it was in line with the times, they were getting peer reviewed. So they were just making stuff up like this. They were deep into like the woke stuff. So anything that was just like trans positive or, you know what I mean, homo positive or anti-fat shaming, they were just making this stuff up and putting it out there, and then they were getting peer reviews.
How to have impossible conversations?
Yeah, how to have impossible conversations.
Peter Boghossian? I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Peter B. and another guy. I don't know if the other guys were on that one, but they were together on Dave Rubin's show. It's a while back. Which, I think his show has gotten to be trash over the years. It used to be a lot better to me, but I don't know if I've even seen it lately. It's just, he went so hard into the Republican thing. I don't know, I kind of disconnected from him. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Because people didn't read, but they said what they wanted them to say. It said what they wanted to believe. And so they were just peer reviewing it. And then he basically was like, we just made all this stuff. This is not real. And I don't know what happened with it though, but.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I get certain people are enterprising, and I get everybody's looking out for their interest, and sometimes it's a short-term interest that's completely immoral. But it's the it's the groupthink that bothers me the most. It's the fact that there aren't people who actively check this kind of nonsense. I'm like, this seems like something that matters enough that matters enough to me to actively want to fix. It's like after that first one got through, that was a time to say maybe we've strayed a little bit. The more of this we do, the more of this everyone just saying things that we want to hear comes along like that. Though that's going to take away from our brand so much that to make this whole thing the whole endeavor, the whole paper, the whole thing that's associated with what we're doing, like it's going to bring everyone down. Why would that ever be acceptable to anybody? I don't know.
I mean, I think my first instinct is that you really have to understand what problem are they solving, right? Because acknowledgement is a value for a lot of people, right? And so if I can seem like I belong and I can get the money and people, it's just like, to me, it's just like extroversion or vicariousness. It's like other people believe that I am of high value. So that means that I am of high value. And as long as they keep believing that, it doesn't matter. I don't actually worry about if I am of high value. I worry if other people believe that I am of high value. Right?
Perception and reality, at least in their mind.
I think that I don't even know if I could say that that's the minority. It could be the majority of people.
It might be the majority. It's very common. I don't even pretend. I never assume that everybody else holds the same values I do. It's like, see how crazy this is? You would never do that. I'm like, wait. I mean, maybe you would do this. Maybe it's okay with you.
If people can get the payoff, if it's a house of cards, if you don't care, I mean, that's what I mean is integrity is hard to come by sometimes, man. Integrity and character is hard to come by.
Especially if you're not going to reward it. We're going to have these things where you can get the same rewards with the lowest amount of work or effort, then I can't be surprised that we have this kind of outcome. But that's the thing, dude. Like when I see this happening more than once, it makes me concerned that I'm like, what is the system designed to do then? Because we get this result, that it's here for a reason.
But see, as you were talking, and when you say groupthink bothers you, and it made me think, what's more important, groupthink or group act? Because I think I know a lot of people who think well, but I don't know if all those people act on their thinking all the time. And if you don't act on your thinking, then the system is going to reward the people who are doing the other thing because you're not necessarily deterring them from rewards. You know, you're not actively doing that. And I don't mean like get in their way. I mean like withhold from them. You know, because if this person doesn't do what they're supposed to do, no, I'm not going to look past it. I'm going to withhold my sanction. Or, yeah, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I'm not going to fulfill the thing the desire to get from me. You don't get my approval. You don't get my money. You don't get my attention. You didn't do the job. You did. So you don't get my respect.
Definitely not. Not that. You've done nothing to earn it, so you can't have it and not force it. But that's, if people are gaining respect just by being accepted by a lot of other people or by putting on a facade that they agree with the right group, then yeah, I can see how that can be a different solution. Like we're not solving the same problem at that point. And I think that's hard for me to even to grasp and to fathom that people would accept that kind of result. Like, come on. Well, anyway, that shows a different value system. If people actively want, I agree that people have the opportunity to have a value system and an actual, workspace focus that allows people to just aim for a short-term benefit.
I mean, I was just thinking a little bit early before I even jumped on the call. I'm thinking that some people really their approach and their strategy is, hey, if other people think it's good, then if I do that, then that makes me good. And that's the best that they can come up with. And I don't think on his face that is bad, right? I mean,
It's not the height of morality, but it's not actively evil. Not
Right.
not trying to ruin life at that point in time.
Right.
That's I can hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. But I just think that it's highly dependent on the group. That's what the thing is.
Right.
And so if the group is corrupted, then you're corrupted. And so-
Yeah. If the group standards are bad, and those are your standards,
Yup.
then you can't be surprised. Whereas, like, I didn't do the right thing. Well, no. The whole standard was terrible. Where you started off, you didn't end up right.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically this is my fight. that's kind of like what I'm fighting for, you know. And I told you, like, that's my fight. And also coming off the heels of, once again, not trying to be too political, really, but whatever, of the election. I'm like in a pivot mode, right? Because I guess I could say I'm not upset with the decision, but I don't think that was fixing anything. I don't really feel like it fixed anything. I think a lot of people think, oh wow, yeah, grown-ups are back in the building. I don't know how we could think that. We're going back in the right direction. I could say, well, maybe it's not as bad a direction as the other people. But I don't think I don't think we fixed what we need to fix.
Right. That we have definitely not gone back to a first principles solution yet. We are just like, I didn't like the color red or the color blue. Now we're going to paint it red. Like, okay, but the car's still moving in the wrong direction. Let's really focus on where we're going.
Right. Yeah. But what occurs to me as I'm thinking about this in the last week is that, and I'm really at heart an independent when it comes to the two-party system, but there's certain obstacles that get put in your place when you are an independent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking like, well, maybe, actually this might warrant its own section, man. Because, so I'll say the first part, the last part first. There's an opportunity to elevate the Democrats, right? But a lot of the things that I've seen over this last 2 weeks indicates to me that, oh, wow, I don't know if these people can recover right now, because they haven't actually pivoted and said, okay, this is what we did wrong. This is how we recalibrate. This is how we address it. They've gone to blame. It's just, hey, everybody was racist. Everybody was a bigot. Everybody was a male chauvinist. And
Everybody doesn't agree with me. Still in the popular category. Eagle people is wrong. I'm like, but see, that was the tactic you used these past few years to try to get your way, and it didn't work. So like you don't have your way. So maybe doubling down or tripling down, whatever we're thinking, is clearly not successful.
no, you would think that, right? But then to me, that maybe it's too soon. Right? Maybe they just can't get out of their feelings that quickly. But at some level, at some point, you would say, oh, wow, you are, you know how they say, when you find yourself in the hole, stop digging, or you find yourself in the ditch, stop digging. You can't stop. You're going to continue to dig. And
You don't even know any other way of getting out of their situation. I don't even know if they have the capacity. I'm not even sure if they are skilled enough to recognize how deep the hole is. They're still under the impression, well, we almost won. We were right there. Like, you weren't. What the numbers are telling you is very clearly you were saying things that most people did not and still do not agree with.
nope.
You weren't right there. You were just saying things as if it was true. But while you pretended that you could use the media to completely shape reality, reality showed you that you couldn't.
Right. And you cannot. Trump might be popular in some circles. There was a bigger one. There was a bigger win to be had there.
Right.
That if it, and I can't. It's hard with people and personality sometimes. But the point of it is that I think another Republican could have beat the brakes off of her worse. And not even say her. I would say the Democrats worse, right? But yeah, they just don't. I keep seeing these interviews. So I saw this one. It was a site called Trigonometry, or I think it's called Trigonometry. I think it's the two comedians, and they were interviewing this Democrat, Brianna Wu. I guess it's a trans person. And she was talking about the Democrats and the things that they didn't do right and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, we've got to do such and such so we can win again. Because they were the comedians were saying, like, it doesn't look like you all are going to get it. It's like y'all going to be out of power for like 10, 20 years. Y'all getting ready. Y'all not going to be in this thing for a while. And then she was like, well, yeah, we've got to do certain things that people have to listen so we can get people back to our side. And the guy asked this super interesting question to me. He was like, let me ask you a question. You just said all the things that the Democrats did wrong and what they continue to do wrong and don't do good at all, but you keep thinking about people voting for you again. Why should they vote for you?
I like it. Yeah, clarity. Like, you want these things, but you can't do these things. Why would we own power? Why would we do the things if you can't help yourself? Why would we go out of our way to give you more power to quote unquote help us if you can't even fix your problem? How you gonna fix my problem?
You're right. But the thing to me is just how could you have so much cognitive dissonance to not even associate you winning with better stuff? Like, you should say, yeah, we want to win because we have better stuff, or we're on a path to doing better things. But none of that was said. It's not like we're better, vote for us. It was, we care, vote for us, or I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. But it was an example to show, and it's one of many. I don't see a lot of it. Well, oddly enough, in some sense, Van Jones has shown some accountability. I don't know if I would say, you can't really say Bill Maher because he's like, I don't know, an independent / center-left person. Some people criticize, but I don't really think that they understand. And I think it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for them to come back. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to come out of this. That's what I don't know. Because I guess I would say I'm nervous about it. I'm kind of nervous about it because it's such an overwhelming victory for people who, it's just that slap in the face against everybody who put their nose up in the air at you. And I get that, but I understand that they don't necessarily use facts and reason and intellect like they claim to. But these aren't bad things in and of themselves, And I don't want a bunch of skeptics and mystics and people who just believe their beliefs.
Yeah, you know what? Ideologues in the position of power where there's no checks, no facts, just have a strong feeling this stuff is true. Oh, don't do that. I mean, it's fine to have feelings, but don't let them make your decisions. Emotional reasoning was the worst reasoning, not reasoning. Don't do it.
So to me, that's a strong push for me to have to be counter to that in a sense. Like, because politically, that's where the power is right now. All of the power. And I mean, going forward, I guess after next year. But there is reason to be concerned about that, I believe. So that's that. Yeah. Other than that, people talking about this Jake Paul Tyson fight last week.
That's crazy. Everybody was really hopeful that Mike Tyson would relive his glory days, and that's that's nice that we are very, like, it just shows what impact he made in a lot of us growing up. But yeah, when a 50-year-old fights a 20-year-old, we don't like, yeah. It's only gonna end if the 50-year-old always wins. I'm like, I don't know if they always win. Is he gonna have a weapon? I mean, he might, if his weapon is his fist. I mean, he may not die, but I don't know if he wins with overwhelming force. I don't think that's how life works for most people. I mean, you can always try it. Anyway, it's hard to like. You want to hold on to nostalgia, but nostalgia only goes so far. I mean, come on.
So my wife was like, "Do you want to watch this fight?" And I said, "No, I don't want to watch this because I didn't think it was really a fight though. Before I even watched it, I'm thinking this is a money grab. This is a way to make some money, and it's very blatant. It's a show. This is wrestling. This is what this is.
There you go. Yes.
And really, he's really a 58 to me is a 60-year-old person.
I was being generous, but yes, reality wise, yes, he is not. He is not the 20-year-old Mike Tyson. He was coming up in the 80s doing this thing. I'm like, no, this is a different animal altogether. This whole anyway.
This is a 60-year-old man that is fighting a 27. It's a 31-year difference. Like there's probably a 31-year-old retired boxer somewhere.
Yeah, when you got more than a generation difference in the fighters, I'm like, is this a fair fight? Is this even a fight that should be had? Somebody should maybe speak up and be like, if it's not already illegal, it probably should.
I mean, that was, I guess this is in my opinion, and I think some people probably would agree, but whatever. It's a ruse. It's not a fight. That's why I didn't want to see it, because this is an exhibition. It was a way for people to pay to have fun. That's what it was for, And I get it. I just think that boxing used to actually be interesting.
It used to stand on its own there. There were real things. We were actually like, oh, wait, these people are having a great matchup. Oh, we're going to see some actual cool technique. Skill is going to overwhelm here. Skill is going to be the thing we're going to watch.
Yeah.
That was more what we watched last. Well, anyway, I didn't watch it, but not what happened when they got in the ring.
No, it's not. It was a money grab. It was a way to make some millions of dollars. And somebody was happy with that. And then look, whatever. If that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I just think this. I don't think I think it's bad. It's just it's disappointing that there's nothing to compete with that.
Right.
That's my thing.
I do think there were plenty of other ways they could have. I do think there are other ways in the world to make money and to satisfy the interest people have of how they want to see people, how they want to see strength represented well. There were so many other things that could have been done. Like, it would have been cool. Like, it'd be cool to see Tyson as like a coach. I hate seeing him not at his peak, but I know he could get other people to perform better. And it'd be interesting to find a way it could be done.
Why you say that though? Why you say that he can make people perform better?
I think he knows what he did to effectively take down his opponents, and I think he knows what he did to maximize his strengths. If he could find other people with his similar strength in his similar situations, he would have a unique perspective to tell them, this is how you need to train, this is how you need to eat, this is how you need to get your mind right, and this is how you need to structure your boxing career to make sure you take advantage of these specific things. This is how you watch this game tape. These are the kind of opponents you're going to be strongest against. These opponents you need to watch out for. I'm like, I would watch that show. That would be interesting to me to see how he put things together. So a lot of this is a mental game, and I would like to know what he did mentally to overcome his opponents in the past. I'd watch just a show about him talking about deconstructing all his famous fights, which probably has already been made. I would just watch it again because I like it. I like that concept of him doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be entertaining. I guess what I'm thinking about is it normal for great athletes to be great teachers or coaches.
Usually not. Nope. That is a yes, that is a different skill set altogether. Some people can, some great athletes though can show you what they mean. They're like, hey, don't do it like this, do it like this. And they can demonstrate or at least model more so than they can explain why and how exactly they do every little thing. And I'd be there just to see good modeling. It's like, you know,
I,
yeah. Or if he can get his coaches to come back and teach people who are like him, who have
custom
similar.
model, bring custom model from the grave. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's just the disappointment for me is that I don't. It's very. I guess I think what it is like smaller pockets of highly technical proficient people, and everybody else is just faking it. And I just see it's just so much. It's such an abundance of fakers, in my opinion, that people just paying attention to what's objectively good, and we just are left with the best of the average. We're left with just above average,
Right.
and that to me, it's not troubling because look, people pick what they pick. People invest to make money. If people pick what they pick and you do what people pick, then you executed the plan. You made the money. Great. Wasn't good, but you made the money. And but I will say, like, that's why, like, technology for me, business and technology reign supreme in a sense, just because they're actually doing objectively good things. Like when you can see a rocket come back from space and come back and land where you want it to land and stand up straight, it's like, oh wow, that's a thing. Something good happened there, and I am impressed. But you set up a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. You made a lot of money, but I am not impressed at all.
No, that was not the clear demonstration of high level skill. Was not the goal, and because of that, I did not derive any benefit out this where I am improved in any way. It's just like, nope, this was supposed to be moderately entertaining enough to get your money. And I'm like, okay, they did that. They entertained enough people to get their money.
Yeah.
And then they broke all the records, and everyone's like, this happened. I'm like, yes, things happened. They weren't good things, but they were things, and they happened. So that was the general bare minimum threshold goal, and they achieved that. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to see it again. I didn't want to see it the first time. And if it was up to me, I would recommend that, we do this differently. Like, this didn't have to happen this poorly. There were lots of other ways to both get money, entertain people, and demonstrate some sort of value.
Yeah, but if it gets the job done, I understand people do it. It's So, I mean, once again, I look toward things like music, movies, sports. Are these things objectively getting better? Are they staying the same, or are they getting worse? I mean, at best, they're staying the same, in my opinion.
Right.
They're not getting better. I don't think that they're getting better.
Certain things, maybe track is getting better. They're running faster. They're breaking new records.
I like track. I like that they have a show on Netflix called Sprint. It's a pretty good show.
Nice.
It was a good lead up to the Olympics that gives you some insight into who's going to be there and their journey to get to the Olympics. And then they did a series after the Olympics showing you the trials and the actual Olympics. And I mean, I definitely enjoyed the Olympics. I will say that. Because for one, the Olympics in itself is something that you can get behind. just because you only have, it's really Whitney Houston, one moment in time. You really only have this moment. You got 4 years, and maybe 2, maybe 3 times in your life. I mean, most people probably just gonna be 1, max 2. But to get here and to perform on the highest stage against the world, and you've got to do it now. So that I can respect. It's got to be something. You have to be prepared. Preparation has to meet, I don't know, what's that? Talent has to meet preparation, or whatever that saying is. So I like that. And I guess to me, the biggest for America, the biggest story in Olympics was the running team. Running. Sprints and running. Like, the women killed it. Yeah, the women killed it. It was the 400, the 4x4 was ridiculous. And for the mixed 4x4 and the women's 4x4 was ridiculous. The men 4x100 was just disappointing.
Yeah, that was like by like a hair.
No. They blew it. They blew the handoff from the first leg to the second leg. But part of it is, I'm pretty sure that Noah Lyles was going to be, if he didn't get sick, he would have been in the 4x100, but he wasn't, and they had to shake it up somehow, I guess. So, but the 100 men's was like classic. Like, all of these dudes finished with like 100th of a second or something like that. And it was like crazy. So I guess that's one thing that I can look at and say, oh wow, this is impressive.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing people demonstrate that kind of value. That's amazing, to put all that time, energy, effort behind it and still come out on top.
Yeah. You check out any like books or any YouTube channels that you've been on lately, or anything?
There's always something. Always something. Yes, there's always too many things for me to think about and talk about, but I always try to find something new. So it's cool. There's this football player guy called Devin Stills, and
What is his name?
he's a legit like defensive end or tackle or something like that. And he grew up in Delaware. He wrote a book called Still in the Game, and he has a whole story where he goes through broken foot, a broken femur, a broken leg. Then he breaks his elbow, and he goes through all these injuries, and he comes back from all these things to keep becoming All-American in high school and like dominating in college, and then he gets into the NFL and he does all these things. And then, like, his daughter gets cancer, and like he has to like have a mindset shift and coach himself through every obstacle to not just come through, but to come through better, stronger, and more able to like knock out the next obstacle. And so like it's highly encouraging, but it's also like amazing to know that mindset can make that much of a difference. That there's so much to be said for motivation, that if you just can break down the process of frame, that you can reframe all these obstacles effectively to say, I'm going to not just endure, but I'm going to go through the scenario and encourage those around me and bring them up with me to become like, I'm going to become a person that I respect even more because of this obstacle. And like he did that so well for himself that when his daughter had cancer, he was able to help her frame things that way as well, to help her keep fighting enough while she underwent chemo and surgery and radiation and everything, where she was able to beat cancer as well. And like, it's a crazy mindset shift for me to think of, like, someone did that on purpose. Someone actively encountered an obstacle and saying, this is reasonable, I should quit. This is clearly beyond me. They're like, even though this is beyond me, I'm going to use this as practice. I'm going to use this as the mountain that I'm climbing to make myself a better person. I'm going to become a better leader, a stronger man, a person of more integrity. I'm going to build my character with these things. Like, everyone has to build their character through obstacles, but the way this man did it was very encouraging to me. Like, there's something here. Like, this man has a process down. Like, he he knows the steps in a way that while he's not perfect, he's clearly better at it than I am. And I have to respect the game. So that part was cool. So I thought that was the interesting thing. And a completely, you have any thoughts?
No, I was just thinking like how athletes just make stuff up just so they can do that. Like that's the thing. I mean, to me, I don't know if it's on the same level that you just explained, but I will say that that part of the athlete mind is I identify with that. I don't know if it's the athlete mind that really triggered his story, but it immediately made me think about like Michael Jordan when like somebody say some innocuous thing and he'd be like, "What?" And just beat you to death on the basketball court for something that you really didn't even mean to say, and use that as catalyst to trounce you, I guess. But you can, yes, ideas, they aren't real, and we can do with them what we like, honestly.
They can be official. There's a way to use these ideas well, and I think that's super helpful when people say, "What does it matter what I think? What does it matter what anyone thinks?" I'm like, it matters a lot depending on what you're using them for. Informed action is super helpful. What if all your action was informed in the peak state you could be in all the time? You would perform 10 times better than people who aren't informed or in that peak state. So it could matter drastically depending on how you use it. And it's great to see people use it well to perform at some of the highest levels. And that's encouraging to me to know, like, this is possible, this is worthwhile, but it's also a skill. Like, it's not just, oh, you're just born with it and you're just magically better than other people. Like, no, you start off terrible like everybody, and then you either do something with that terrible and become better over time by encountering things you can't overcome quickly. You grow that skill, or you don't.
Yeah.
And so I want to learn to grow that skill in some way that is functional and reasonable without, like, I don't want to be him. So I don't want to go through what he went through. But I'm like, I've gone through things in the past. Could I go back in time and revisit that in a way so I can interpret it in a way that is helpful? Is that possible? Could I use that struggle in a way that is beneficial? And I think there is a way. Like, it seems like there is a consistent thing he's doing when he thinks about his obstacles that makes it beneficial.
I mean, that's interesting. I guess when I'm thinking about those steps, I'm like, whoa, be objective. That's my first thought. What is it? What is happening? This is what I want to know. What is happening? Okay, how can I address it for the better? It's not just how can I, because you can't just address it. You're addressing it with a certain context. How do I want to address it? And I guess the other thing I'm thinking about is just that there are times, so I wouldn't say that this is completely conscious. There's a thing with me, when things get all the way bad, I can't allow myself to lose. It's more of an instinct. It's more of an instinct, which I appreciate, right? But it's almost even like a fight or flight in a sense, because there are times when, like, how like some people, when everything goes bad, they just start shaking and they start, can't do anything. When stuff gets to a certain level of bad, I eliminate everything that's unnecessary. And I can just have a dead, it's almost like clarifying, because I don't care about the BS at all.
That's the perfect thing. I mean, a crisis can clarify things so well, almost better than anything else, because it's all the irrelevant stuff goes away. There's no more room for, well, there's all these options. There aren't any options. We have one thing we got to fix. The critical thing, either get solved in the next 5 minutes, or there won't be any more options. You won't have to even worry about it anymore.
Yeah. And it's a moment of conviction, which is not necessarily what you're saying, I don't think, but the point I'm trying to make is just that it's instinctual. I can't claim fully that I'm fully doing it with conscious mind. There are
Not
more.
anymore. I've this before. This isn't your first day. You've gone through more than one hard thing. And you're like, it's just like anyway. The approach you have now is it's got to be a lot more ingrained than you. You've done this more than once, so you've survived these hard things. So anyway, yeah, it's much different.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, like that is what learning is supposed to be for. You're supposed to get better with things in this way. You're supposed to develop in this way, so that when you encounter the next hardship, you don't go back to square one. Like, well, I guess we're gonna have to guess. It's like, no, we're gonna do what we did before, but now we're gonna add the next step and try to get even so much better at this that I don't have to think about this anymore. I just go right back into that problem solving mode, and I get this problem solved in a way that's more effective. But now I can look around, and look at, is there something else going on? Can I solve multiple problems now? What is the next step to this?
Yeah. I mean, the way you just explained it, the way that I would explain, it's not the way that I would explain it. Have you ever played Minesweeper?
Jesus.
So I think I might have brought this up before, but that's how Minesweeper is to me. Like Minesweeper for a lot of people, when I bring up that game, and I understand because when I first saw it, I was thinking like, how do you play this game? But
Right.
when I learned what it's doing, it can be a complicated game. But I played it like the hardest level in it. But the funny thing about it is when I play it, I'm really not thinking when I'm playing the game. Like I literally don't think for a long time while I'm playing this game. And people might say, well, how do you know this? And it's because, for one, I understand the odds and I understand what the objective of the game is. And I'm just flipping through it. It's like, boom, boom, that's not a bomb, that's not a bomb, that's not a bomb, that's not a bomb. And then you get to a certain section, it's like, okay, now I have to think. Now I have to do the odds. Okay, we've got 6 things here, it's only 2 bombs. You know, what are my odds here? What are my odds there? But I'm literally going through this whole, people might think it's complicated and complex. It's not. It's just, I can literally play this game for 3 minutes and not think at all, not once, just boom, 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 just react. So I don't know. If anybody would ever ask me about logic, I would say play Minesweeper because it's a great logic game.
Yeah, you have that ability to focus, then yeah, you definitely can use that to, if then that. If not this, then that. Yep.
And it's not even, but it ain't even focused though, Joe. I mean, once you learn it and once you understand how it works, you really can rest your brain for a lot of the game. It's not, there are times you have to think more, but for what people think it is versus what it actually is, once you understand how it works, it's just like you said, if this, then that. Oh, that's this. That's not a bomb. This is not a bomb. That's not a bomb. This is not a bomb. That's not a bomb. And it's not even like I'm really thinking. Like I will make mistakes here and there, but it's just, it's instinctual at that point. You've gone through it and you don't really think about it. So
It's beautiful. I mean, but you got there over time and it worked out in a way that now you don't have to sit there and, have a crushing headache for every single square on there. It's like, nope, I've done this enough. This, and this, and this, these, this one, this. All right.
Yep.
Anyway, I love that. And that is the goal I want to encourage everybody to. People are like, oh, thinking is so hard. It doesn't take all that. I wouldn't do all that. I'm like, it just takes all that in the beginning.
Right.
After you get better at this, because of how humans work, skill acquisition is a thing. The more we have that, the more time and effort and investment you put on the front end, the better your long-term benefits are. You could really amp this up. You could amp up your ability to tackle harder and harder problems with even less and less mental effort over time, the more you actually invest in it. And I think that's super encouraging. People were just like, who would ever be able to do that? I'm like, you could do that over time.
I mean, so yes. And I think it's a strategy to understand it's a method. To understand how to apply that method. It's tricky. Like you said, it's tricky. People don't want to do it.
just takes effort. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying it's possible and it's worth it. It's where I found it to be worth it for me. Other people have written large books to say how much it was worth it for them as well. And I believe them. And I think that's something that there's something to be said when people say, why would you think about all these things? It doesn't take all that. I'm like, thinking about thinking or reflection allows you to have a much better approach to life, allows you to have so much informed action that you can start really appreciate more of the good things in life because you have so many more options now. You don't have to get stuck where you would always get stuck or where most people get stuck in life.
This is true. So like a lot of thoughts just hit my brain just now. So because this is similar to something that I was thinking about earlier today with seven habits. And if anybody doesn't know, he has that 4 quadrant. Well, I guess quadrant means 4. But yeah, it's got the matrix, right? And so you've got quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is urgent and important. 2 is important but not urgent. 3 is urgent but not important. And 4 is not urgent, not important. Which I don't really understand where anybody. To me, if you're not good with thinking, you kind of oscillate between 1 and 4 because everything to me is, oh my God, urgent, urgent, urgent. Everything's urgent. I'm burnt out. Now I need to just relax and do absolutely nothing. Nothing that's urgent, nothing that's important. Right. But to me, I don't even understand why I would ever be in 3 or 4. And I think he was really saying that quadrant 2 is a good place to be. But that's to say, you're also going to have to be in quadrant 1 sometimes. There are going to be times where things are urgent and important. You need to deal with those things. But there are so when you say thinking, when you're in quadrant 2 dealing with something that's important but not urgent, when you get to something that's urgent and important, sometimes you'll say, oh, I already thought about this before.
Right.
And I don't have to be reflexive with this. I said, if this were to happen, I would do this. And now this is happening. Now I can actually do this.
Right. I finally execute.
Yeah. But for people, I think I'm not started to listen to the book again, but I haven't really finished another go through. But I think he was saying people don't deal in the important but not urgent. And to me, that's the reflective area, the important but not urgent, because people love to just deal with the things that just come up right now,
Crises of the moment. Get this done. Fix this here. Like, you can put out fires. That's fine, but that doesn't let you build. I hear you, though. Fires are important. They need not be there. But building is more important in the sense that it is more long-term beneficial to build a strong building on a real foundation that's going to last forever and benefit you and your family for generations. But I get it. Fires happen too. Make sure the house doesn't burn down. But build a house. Build it, please.
But to me, like, people who don't prepare deal with more fires than people who do prepare.
Right.
You actually make it possible for more fires. Well, I don't know if I would say possible, but it's just there are a lot of people who create fires and then say, hey, look, I put this fire out. It's like the fire actually happened because of what you did.
Right. You're bad at this. You made half of this happen. What? No, I don't even. Okay, maybe that was their habit. Like, you don't even realize the harm you're causing just by doing whatever. But man, it's easy.
I'm over here looking. I don't know I think this guy, he does these, or somebody takes his videos and does snippets online. This guy, John C. Maxwell. And when
Yeah, I love him.
Oh, you like, okay. I don't know if he's like a religious guy or not. I'm not sure. But I think
anyway.
When I see his stuff, I like it for the most part. Leans he'll give you the Christian love. He'll give you the do it for the people type of thing, which I'm not on board with. But he does say some things that I think are good. And when you were talking about reflection, I remember seeing a clip from him where he was just saying, like, Some people think reflection is good. No, reflective action. Something he was saying, and I wish I could find it. He was just saying that it was about reflection and how more or less it's almost like a rationalist point of view perspective.
He's very ENTJ. He's a leadership guy.
Oh, you think so? Well, I mean, but to be like reflection, yeah, I guess maybe. Okay. I don't know that much of him to know that, but I find his arguments to be, I don't know. So when you said it, like, to me, that what I've perceived from him did not come off as ENTJ-ish to me. That's what I'll just say. And that might just be me, because when I hear certain types of arguments, I don't think of them as ENTJ arguments, but I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Some things he says are overgeneralized. And when that happens, it makes me uncomfortable. I have to remember he is thinking practically. He is really trying to take what he is saying and make it actionable, because that's where he lives. He wants everyone to apply what he is saying. It's like he doesn't mind teaching, but he's only using teaching to get to the action. He doesn't mind talking about concepts, but he's only trying to find applicable, practical concepts, which is great. Well, that's what I'm listening to him for. And so, like, he's a very unique style, and I appreciate it because he's a great speaker, teacher. He paints great pictures with his words, and so I like that style and that approach.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen from him, because I see it often in my feed, I like it. You know, it's pretty good for the most part. I think it's pretty good. I think it's insightful. But yeah, I don't know too much. I don't know that much about it.
Yeah, I've not been disappointed with most everything I've read from him, and I think it's cool. I think he had 16 laws of leadership that are really great. And he's written a lot of books, but whatever you can find, I think you'll enjoy it. I've been thinking about how I will drive the things in my brain effectively. Like I realized that teaching exists, and I realized that concepts exist. I've been watching or listening to this graphic design people, and they mentioned that the best way, or one of the best ways they found to help other people understand what they do and what they're doing. Like, this lady she uses graphic design to effectively do business coaching. And so she helps people say, like, this is the model you can help people sell with, basically. And so she breaks down teaching and learning and effectively selling by putting people's offer in a category of it being results oriented, answers focused, process oriented, or feature or benefit focused. And so she uses these categories as a way to kind of drill down on what the client really wants, whether they're trying to reach a certain target audience, or whether they're trying to tell a certain business how to improve certain things, or whether it's trying to convince other people that they're better than the next business. It's like, I'm going to find your value proposition. I'm going to take it and express it in some sort of pictorial or graphic representation. And using this graphic representation, I can break down what you want to say in a way that makes it super clear for people. And that whole process is a way just to take all the information in people's heads and put it into a clear, concise picture that people can grasp without having this long, drawn out thing of like, oh, I sell you hot air. Or I talk for a living. It's like, no, boil this down to the actual problem you are solving and how the benefits are going to be clear and compelling. And I like that whole idea. Like, I want to get better at that. Like, that's a skill that can be learned and used well. I don't know how to come up with great pictures, but I think if I did the work, it'd be cool to find, if I did the work on the front end, to find ways to reproduce that picture quickly. Like, if I could come up with 2 or 3 clear ways to describe what I'm thinking, it would help me have a conceptual conversation, even with sensors. Like, I think it could be done. I don't know how well it could be done, but it'd be interesting to see if that would be the way to speak people's language. Like, this is the thing you need. This is where you are. This is where you want to be. I'm going to tell you a how-to step process to get there. And if I could put that in a pictorial portion, if I could just draw that real quickly and just say, this is step 1, step 2, step 3 is step 4, and that's it. If I just kept it to like 4 or less stages, I think people could be, they'd be more apt to understand what I'm saying instead of just living in the ideal world of guesswork of like, oh, who knows what you're talking about? Like, I do, as the person who, but like you also have the opportunity because I'm presenting you evidence and then showing you in a picture how you can also think about it.
I mean, it's a meme.
Using?
It's a meme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, pictures are cool. They communicate a lot. I mean, look, AI can do a lot with pictures nowadays too. You can type in what you want to say, and it can come up with a pic. I don't think it's that good right now for that, but I mean, it'll take you in a good direction. You can refine it, you know. But yeah, memes are very helpful because they can communicate an idea. I mean, I remember Mike on this call. He used to talk about memes all the time. Like, he just loved the idea of memes for some reason. And I think the way we spell meme is not really, it's not the way that I think it used to be N-M-E-N, M-E-M-E. But I think it's just, a meme is just an idea, I think. That's what he was saying. So yeah, I think even with making videos, you know, just like pictures, put a picture to communicate an idea where it can make it more clear. I think the thing for me though is to execute. I think that's I think it's a cool thing, right? But I do like words. I like words for the artistic value because to me, there's a loss of artistic value with words. There's some people who are masterful who can really, really do it very well. Which I'm always in awe of that. But I like adding pictures. So this all to me, it just all comes down to what you actually want to do. Because for me, I can see that in the context, but I like a mixture of both. That's my thing.
Yeah. I mean, you should always use both. And I think they're useful for certain things. And I think it's really great to know that this is a tool in the arsenal of someone who's trying to convey information in a clear, concise way that you can use these pictures to create a real easy access point for people who are looking for answers, results, features, or a process. I'm like, boom, hit them with it in a way that they can understand. And now you can have a much better conversation when they come to you and they what's your process for this? It's like, you have a whole picture for that. But also, this is the starting point to sell you on this point so that we can now have the discussion. Where are you in this process? What do you want help with? This is what we do this is how we do that.
I mean, I'm always on board with tools, man. I love tools. Anything that can help facilitate understanding, it's a cool thing to me.
Yeah. It's interesting that this has been done, that it's been done well enough that it can be learned. And now that I can know about this and learn it, now I want to find ways to start incorporating it more effectively when I have a disagreement, when I have a general idea, like, have we thought about trying this differently? I can have a clearer way to convey this message. Oh, we're fucking up. Stop doing this. Do it the right way. Here's the picture. See, there's no reason for us to do the wrong thing. And I think that's going to be helpful for me in the future. Like, there's a guy who did, I forget the book he wrote, but it's about the whole idea of a design sprint or a short kind of concentrated problem solving meeting. So anyway, you don't sprint better than I do, but like as companies do these little sprint framework where they have a problem they want to solve, they get everybody together, and there's extensive week-long meetings where they plan, brainstorm, pick a solution, and then start implementing a solution to finish a project. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And there's a guy who online speaks about how to do a design sprint well and how to do the whole sprint process effectively. I'm like, this is great. He's like, yes, this is just the way to have every meeting. Every meeting should go this way. We should all come together with someone who actually is the decision maker, and then the main other stakeholders around it should be here to help to effectively say, this is the piece of the puzzle I bring. This is my area of expertise. This is the context I can bring to this. What is our question? And the decision maker can help guide everyone along in a real way to where we don't have to depend on everybody just chiming in and letting the most popular person run the meeting. You could just have an actual meeting facilitator give you an agenda, tell you a real question, and people can write down and tell you the question we have is, how can we solve our main pain point here? This is our main pain point. Everyone write down your answers on what you think should go in there. And we're just going to brainstorm and put these little post-its up there. Decision maker, pick a post-it you like. All right, of this post-it that he likes, how would y'all want to implement it? Everyone write it down. All right, let's put the post-its back up here. Now we can vote. Which one do we think we're going to do? Anybody have some context? What's worked before? What's not worked? All right, now that we have a decision maker has picked what he wants. Once the boss lets everybody know what we need to do, we've all chosen what we kind of the direction that we need to go here. Now we can start making a plan. Now we can start executing this plan. Now we can start making people responsible for certain parts of the plan. It's just that level of specificity was super helpful for me. I'm like, none of my meetings ever go that way. I just show up to random places where people are talking, and they just talk all around the topic, and then it ends. And then people are just like, hey, this didn't happen later on down the road, if they even remember what the meeting was about. We didn't even do anything. I'm like, well, no, nothing happened. There was no organization. There was no agenda. There was no goal for the meeting. There was no person putting response. No one did any of the steps of this sprint. So no, the project didn't get done. There's no lead person on project. There's no preparation for the project. There's no resources for the project. None of us even know what this project's supposed to do. So no, it didn't get done. So anyway, that was just helpful for me to know that these things exist. These are tools that I didn't even know other people were doing consistently.
I mean, I guess I've heard so many different ways to go about doing business, right? And first thing is you explaining, whenever somebody says, let's have a meeting, I'm almost always out because I understand what you're saying. Like, okay, I get all of that. I just think that the pull, I wouldn't say desire, the pull to just chime in for chiming in's sake is going to be too strong for some people, because I think in my mind, this is my idea of people. There are some people who they think that they have to talk. They get in the meeting, they've learned, hey, I have to talk, I have to say things, because if I say things, then people will notice me, and then therefore I'll get status here. And let me just say more things, and they don't necessarily, they could be relevant, but I've been in meetings where people it's not a better idea. It's not a good idea. It's just an idea. And you just say more words, and you say more complicated words, and then you connect it to something, to someone who was important that people respect, or something like that. And I don't like it, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of it.
That's a painful place to be. You're like, nothing but solved. You just restated the obvious. You understand I could hear you, right? I know what people said. You know what people said. That's how you said it again. But that did not solve the problem. We still have the same problem.
Yeah. And people love to do that. So that's one thing. And then, so as you were talking as well, I'm thinking about, when I get these Steve Jobs clips in my feed, and I hear him talking about management, and I get inspired. I've heard Steve Jobs, and I've heard, what's the Amazon? Jeff Bezos. So just Jeff Bezos' thing was, okay, we had people come to a meeting, and then we hand out the email, because people don't read the email. And so everybody reads the email right there, and then we approach the situation. Now, these are, I guess, E-team leaders or whatever, senior leaders and everything. So that's one way. But then Steve Jobs' thing is like, we don't have managers or something. He just be like, good people manage themselves. We don't. So you got. I mean, I see Warren Buffett, his take on this stuff. I've seen Jeff Bezos. I've seen Steve Jobs. I mean, you definitely can say that these people are successful. Now, there's other people who are successful. They might have strategies or techniques or methods that they use for meetings. But personally, I think there's too much getting together. Like, if I need to get with you, I will call you. And then I will have a meeting with the people who I need to be there. Because I don't want a big meeting with a bunch of people that just feel like, oh, let me chime in so I can be seen.
Right.
No, I don't.
That's actually not what we get paid for. This company actually has a purpose that we have to fulfill. Otherwise, we're all out of a job. Does that bother anyone? We really should focus on the thing.
Hey.
That.
And the other part to that, you might call it an introvert thing, is that I just don't find that this is the best way to think. Like, give me something to do and let me go figure it out. Now, there's times, yes, I do need to talk to people, but I don't like to be on this, hey, everybody get in the room and we're going to, it's the collective mind. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's BS. We don't think necessarily. I think, you think, people think. So let's stop pretending that we're going to get together. Oh, if we all had the opinions from everyone in the room, it'll be a better. This is the ideas to me that I hear a lot these days, where people say, "Oh,
Yep.
we don't like." Well, it's not that we don't like analysts. It's that we took a study of all of these different analysts, and it seems that if we just take the ideas from all of these different people and just synthesize it into one idea, it's better than any one analyst. I don't care. I'm not interested in collective mind. I don't do that. You know?
Right. But also not that also is an overgeneralization. Like, it misses the point that it's only better if you have good data. It's only better for the things that were actively relevant. Just putting a bunch of people together is not a group, is not a think tank. Like, I hear you. You don't want to miss something. Somebody has context you don't have. Everybody has a strength you don't have. That's cool, but it may not be relevant. I don't care how good you are at baking cakes. You need to build this building. It's your opinion and your actual knowledge on what pan to use to fry this egg. Doesn't matter. We'll get this building up. Anyway, there are a lot of meetings I go to where we just get everyone in the building together. They just want someone from every department here because we want to make sure that when we make a decision, we make it together. No one feels responsible, quote unquote, left out. But responsible is the word that I say. Like, clearly, this is an abdication of any real crime.
I mean, so this to me is the profound stuff that it depends on anybody, on your perception, but to me, the profound stuff that Rand talks about, because this stuff is straight from her books. Just the whole idea of the collective mind. When the train scene, where we're going to crash, but nobody wants to make the decision to derail, to change the direction or call anybody. And by the time we actually do anything or are about to do something, we're dead. This person called that person, and he was like, well, I'm not in charge of that department. That person over there does it. Then that person called that person, and then that person called another person. He said, I don't do this thing. And so I'm not, like I said, man, I'm not against groups, but I am definitely against group thinking. And like bringing everybody together just to think is not a good plan, in my opinion.
Right. Like, I'm happy with people getting buy-in and getting consensus later on the road, but having consensus for every single decision, every single part of the process, I'm like, oh, we don't need that. I need the people who are actively good at this thing. I need all the experts in this particular field. Just give me the contextual information that I'm making right here on that.
Yeah.
Like, we have these resources, these many people. People have done it before. What do you think? Too many? Too little? All right.
Yeah, man, you got the facilitators, and then you have your coordinators, then you got HRs. HRs are wastelands. It's like I'm just.
But they used to. Well, anyway, there were times they could have been helpful. I mean, in the sense of like, promise does exist, and I love that idea of people effectively say, I'm going to spend my time to work on what the company needs, focus on career development for people, orient people, train people, and make sure that they're placed in the right place in the organization. I like that concept. I don't ever
Yeah.
see it executed. But the idea sounds great. Like, hey, I'd like more of that, please.
I mean, yes. Like you said, I've never really seen people like just go forward with a tool. Like I don't even care which tool it is. Just pick a tool and just use it. I don't know. It's not that I would agree, but it's just everybody's. From what I've seen, people dip their toes in ideas. Like people will have you take a MBTI test, and I don't know how much is actually used in putting people in the right department or with the right group of people. And I've never seen it that way. I've seen it as a nice to have. Like, oh, isn't it cute to know your Myers Briggs? Isn't it cute to know your skills and your skill strength? Like, I actually did an exercise like that kind of recently, maybe like last year. I already knew mine, but it came off more like a fun thing. I don't necessarily know that people positioned it in a way. Maybe they said that you could use it, but sometimes I think stuff like that gets lost if you don't take it to straight application for some people, because they get into that meeting, they're like, what extrovert? Like, I guess they don't talk about the cognitive functions in MBTI really. I think that's probably one of the things. Like, yo, don't bring up the functions because people will be.
Bro, you thought they were gone before. I'm not gonna be with y'all.
Yeah. But if you get too complicated, you start to lose people. But if you don't apply it to actual reality, then people don't take the time to try to think. Like they want to immediately grasp it. As soon as you say word one, they want to be like, okay, I get it. You know, they don't want to wait for like 2 minutes just to understand what are you getting at. Now you got to find a group, and I think to me, like conferences are good places for that, for stuff like that, because you got to concentrate a group of people that's interested in certain ideas, or even being experts or leaders in their industry, which is I like conferences for that reason. Yeah, I'm about to say another thing, but I can't even remember now. So, but to put that's what I was going to say. So Kevin Samuels, I remember one episode I caught from him. He was saying that MBTI. He said he came back. I don't know how sure he was. He said he was an ENTJ. I think he said that's what he was. But then he said, but that didn't mean anything to me. And so he started promoting Clifton Strengths. I don't know what they call it, Strengths Finders, Clifton Strengths, whatever it is. And he said that made everything click for him because it kind of gave him a framework. I think it's more application oriented. I think Strengths is.
Yeah, that's what TE does. TE finds the uses for everybody's strengths, and so I can understand why he was able to gravitate to that and find a use case much faster, which is great. Excellent. I'm glad what he could do that well. I can learn from that. I support that. That's one of those things where it's like that's focus language.
Yeah, I mean, I like Clifton Strengths a lot too.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's just
it doesn't tell me a lot of the whys, but it does tell me a lot of the what. And that's great. I need to know the what. And go. Who does what? How do I know they have the strengths? What strengths are there? Please tell me.
See, right there, what you just said triggered. I was thinking about something before. It just triggered my mind to think about it. As you were talking about these strategies that people use, the reason why some of these strategies don't garner my attention a lot of times, even though it's not that I think that they're bad, they don't address a level of life that I feel is just neglected. They are very good at like organizational psychology. I like psychology. I like applying in an organization. But it doesn't give you the why. It doesn't go all the way back to the source. It shows you how you can be obedient or fit into this little group or section here. But then if you were to ask these people to really live or die on their theories or their philosophies or the things that they come up with, they're like, oh no, it's not that serious. And I want something that is that serious.
Exactly. Part with the serious thing that you can't dance around all things we're actively suffer with. And like, well, it's not that important. I'm like, some things are that important though. We really should address those first.
Right.
Wait to mention in the little Eisenhower matrix of the quadrant, you're like, all right, the most important, most urgent thing, you should at least address that first. And then we can talk about the other parts that aren't urgent but are still important. That'd be fine. Can't though. Skipping it is not the answer.
Because what in reality, and you tell me if I'm wrong, what actually even addresses this in a significant way outside of religion?
My goodness. Philosophy was supposed to, but our current philosophy is not. But it was supposed to. It was technically designed for that.
And that's so the decline of philosophy is a problem.
It's a problem. Our brains are meaning-making machines. Philosophy is their goal is to tell us about the meaning. And like, we gave up on that. I'm like, our brains are if you don't tell us the meaning, we are left without guidance. And now we have to guess. And guessing is a terrible long-term decision. But frustrating. Like, that doesn't have to happen. We don't have to guess. We have data. Some things are true. Some things are truer than others, at least. Let's at least start with facts. What has been observed? Help us.
But the bad thing about it is you're going to have to default to something, right? So let's say you're an atheist. Let's say I don't necessarily want to put politics to it, but let's say you're a left-leaning atheist or something like that, and you may have certain arguments or agree with some political arguments, but when people attach these arguments to Christ or something like that, you're like, I was with you until you attached it to religion. You know, I've heard people say this before. And so what is going to fill that void? Okay, you've got psychology. And to me, you've got philosophy, and people might use psychology in that way. But then people will say, oh yeah, here's the psychological breakdown. And this is how we think about this, and this is how we think about that. And I'm like, well, take it back all the way to the source then for me. Like make a complete, let's make long-term meaningful decisions on this. And people say, well, no, we can't really do that. Like, I know everything that I need to tell you,
right,
for you to do what you need, for me to do for you to do what I think you should do. But I can't really say that this is, an it's not even absolute is what I'm saying. It's like, you can't use this to do anything besides just go to work and figure some stuff out. You can just use it to make money and go to work, and then, we don't know what else to do before that. Or it becomes most people do this. And so since most people do this, or most people like that, then this is the overarching governing idea, that we should all aspire to, because most people XYZ, which is another trash thing.
Right. Thinking by consensus is not real. It's not real data. It's not a real method for a solid conclusion. Like, it's something that's observable. You can just say, like, hey, a lot of people have had a similar thought process. I'm like, excellent. So they all fell into a similar ditch. Are they better off now? No, still just in that ditch. Okay, I believe you. That's a pitfall I should learn from. We should use that information, interpret it, and learn from it, instead of saying, this is where most people are. You should go where most people are. Hurry. No, I want to go to my objective. I'm trying to get to my goal. My goal is where I want to go. I'm trying to be where the consensus is. I'm trying to be where the benefit is. The benefit is what we're talking about. Let's do that.
But we don't get anything to defend that. We do a lot of stuff that's kind of important, and it'd be nice to know what it's for, like, clearly,
right?
Articulately. What is this all for? No, we're going to work. But why? I know why. Can you articulate why? Can you teach the children why? We're going to bomb this country. Are we arbitrarily bombing a country? Do we have actual reasons or principle that we're operating on here? No, this is wrong and this is right.
Right. We're on the good side. They're on the bad side. They need to be dealt with. This has to happen. Does this have to happen? Who said? For what reason? In what way? What is our long-term goal here?
We get none of this stuff. That's the thing that kills me, man. And all of this psychology. People love to be in psychology now and tell you about your inner child and your your pains and your traumas and your hurts. Okay, how is it holistically going to make make my life better? I don't know.
But also, awareness is step one. And I'm cool with that. We're like, hey, you need to be aware of these things. You aren't
Yes.
even aware. I'm like, you're right. You're right. I'm running into these walls. I can't even see. At least open my eyes. That's cool. Now let's stop running into walls. Could we build some of the skills necessary to move from awareness to the ability to process things to the ability to manage things? Like I should be gaining skills over time. That is what I'm really interested in. What are those next steps? And I don't hear a lot of people talking about those next steps. People have a lot of this armchair psychology stuff like, oh, it was your relationship with your parents, or oh, it was the way you responded when you were a child. I'm like, that certainly was part of it. That contributed to a lot of my context and my perspective now. But those beliefs may not be right. And they're certainly not serving me. What are the beliefs that are right? What should I be trying to do?
Right.
How can I do that? Why are we not talking about the steps that happen after awareness?
It's highly descriptive, but not a lot of. Well, they give you prescription, but the prescription ain't. It's not deep enough. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's always within context. So I mean, everything is within context, but it's just that it's in a lower level context, not in a full life context. That's the point I'm trying to make. So it's disappointing. And yes, the decline of philosophy is a, and I think some people railed against philosophy. I didn't know that some people hate. Well, I don't know about hate philosophy, but they don't. It's almost as if it's theoretical, because you have to choose a direction. There's no evidence to say that. There's no evidence. There has to be an if then. So, but people just ignore the if then beginning of it. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make.
I mean, some people don't want to know. Some people aren't listening and they're not open to finding out what the why is behind things, the meaning that has been discovered. They want to have the wide open space to just be able to make their own meaning at all times, at all places, for all things. And anyone's meaning is fine and everyone's meaning is equal, but their meaning is a little bit more equal than yours. And I'm like, you don't need to take sides, people. We have data. We could just use the data.
So when you say data, which data though do you mean when you say that?
I prefer the objective gravity demonstrable data that we can
okay.
like it'd be great to measure. We can't measure all things, but some things we can at least measure the history of things. Like some things have been tried. When they were tried, this either worked out great for this person or poorly for this person. If we want their results, we can copy their model. But if we don't have a model and we don't have objective stuff that we can measure, then we wish it. That is not the data I'm talking about. Like, well, people feel a certain way. I'm like, I bet they do, but that's not what I need to know. I need to know if it got them to the actual goal that we're all trying to reach. I want that level up in life to have more benefits, please.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a part of it. But I guess just the complicated piece about philosophy that I don't know I don't think psychology can answer this question. It's the for what. It can't answer the for what. And you have to choose the for what. That's the point. And it's not lost on me that this is an arbitrary choice. But somebody's got to choose.
Yeah, it's a subjective choice, but their choices do have consequences. And I think that's the thing that matters to me. Like, do you want these consequences or not? You can get these consequences or these consequences. And those, but you have the agency to choose. And it has to be done by you. And if you aren't going to take that responsibility, then the choice has been made for you.
Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of like leave on this, kind of trying to end on this note, because I hear people talk about us living especially in America, in a pluralistic society. I heard this one, I don't know what I was listening to, but I know I read it in, what is this? John Rawls's Law of Peoples. And we have this pluralistic society. And I don't get it. I understand what people think that they're saying when they're saying it, but once again, this is a level issue to me. Like pluralistic means that people have different preferences and values and things that they want to do with their life. Cool. I'm all good with that. But we can't be pluralistic about life itself. You know, like living, can we all get on board with that? Like, I don't need to be, because living is the things that gives value, that gives life to values. You can be pluralistic with your values all you want. That's cool, but I'm not in the, like you've made the argument before, like we're not debating about, yeah, can we steal or can we work? This is not a debate. I'm not pluralistic about this. You know? So those are warring words in my
Right? Yes. We've got to have some guardrails or we can't even exist in the same space. Like sometimes I get murdered, sometimes I don't get to murder. Okay, so we can never murder. That's never on the list.
Right.
The things we get. Like, why couldn't you don't get to murder? That's not on the list of things we do in the joint space. There are
Right.
people here. Unacceptable.
And people will accuse you of being singular. Yes. Very singular with that.
I won't. I don't let people do whatever they want. Absolute freedom was never the goal. Contextual freedom. That's the only thing that we're promised in this world, and that's the only thing I support. You get your choices. You don't get my choices. You get your choice.
Yeah. So when you say this, when you said that, it reminded me of a guy that made an argument to me that was saying that the country is socialist because we fund an army, right? And
Oh, it hurts so bad.
or we fund the military. And so the point to me that has to be made, and I hope people, maybe I can develop a way to do it somehow. If you have a position that would negate the thing that offers you the space to have the position, then that's not, without the army, you can't keep the country. So therefore, it can't technically be socialistic.
You misunderstand socialism. Voluntary versus involuntary use of your products and labor is a huge difference. But also, if you say like, hey, because this country has borders, we have socialism because we didn't all choose that. I'm like, I mean, that's like saying because this house has walls, we were forced to do this, and so we must now just open our house so everyone else can live here, and homelessness is over. I'm like, not how that works at all. You misunderstand what we're talking about. That's a level of overgeneralization that I don't know if I can be kind with. Like, it seems like you're doing this purposely. You're trying to misunderstand how things. You should not be this bad to think that houses stand up without walls or that countries exist without borders. It's like the army exists to keep our border. If we don't have, it's not a country. That's
Josh, I know you know people are literally, I know you know this.
true.
They
It's
literally
true.
can't make these distinctions.
Every time I'm like, you have to have so much willful ignorance just to skip over all these things. Like, your argument depends on the thing you're arguing against. Come on.
You know they can't make that distinction, man. You know that there are people who believe that you can go left and right at the same time, up and down at the same time.
How dare you disagree with me for thinking that? All right. Yes. Hypocrisy is real. It's true.
So, yeah. So that's one thing that because you can't. You can't argue. I guess it's really, it's not context dropping. What's the one? Stolen concept. In the
Stolen concept. There you go. That's what I'm trying to think of. Perfect.
But I want this thing that's only available when this concept exists, but I'm going to use this to negate the concept that I need. Yeah. So but that's what we got. So keep on the work. I'm gonna keep the work up and try to refine it and get better at articulating what the hell I'm trying to talk about.
And you need both. It's always cool to see how the whole process goes. Interested how persuasion can be learned in a way that we can help people have a better understanding. It's like we can actually get closer. We can actively help toward that. I can't understand it for you, but I can at least.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I think, probably shut it down. Damn. Yeah, but unless you got anything else, man, I'd probably shut it down, man.
That makes sense. Wrap it up. See you again next week.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate it.
Sir, have a good one.
Take it easy. See if I can get out of here. Can't ever get out of here.